It's the news Hunter football fans needed to hear. The man with the Midas touch in front of goal is going nowhere.
Nice to finally get it done after the whole team's been on a high the last few weeks. So exciting time for myself and obviously for the club moving forward.
And it was the Jet supporters who really sealed the deal.
And it was an amazing experience for myself. Coming off the pitch to get so much support and have all the fans behind you was something. It was probably the point where I really thought, there's no chance of me leaving here.
The re-signing of Adam Taggart couldn't have come at a better time for the Newcastle Jets. 6 games undefeated, heading into a grudge match with Sydney FC, who are also on a roll.
Yeah, they've got a lot of confidence and momentum as well. They're playing at home, so it will be a big game.
Saturday's match at Allianz Stadium will be the chance to exercise some first-round demons.
Starstruck a little bit, from the first game. It was a huge build-up and anticipation from playing friendlies to, the real thing. Maybe just got a little bit lost.
Alessandro Del Piero was key to Sydney's 2-0 win, and keeping the Italian maestro quiet is the aim.
We're not going out there to rough him up or anything like that. The ball's there to be won. We intend to win it.
Michael Kane, NBN News. 3 days to go, but officials are already saying let the games begin. Today they took their last look at facilities, confirming what they already knew.
Newcastle and the Hunter just came out heads and shoulders above everybody else, so the facilities are amazing.
Come Monday, the Forum at the Newcastle University will host the swimming.
Oh, the atmosphere in the Forum is awesome. It's a 50-metre pool, it's the great stands, great atmosphere, and there's also the badminton being staged at the Forum as well.
Then there's the first-class cricket facility. The #1 sports ground is looking picture perfect.
To have a Sheffield Shield first-class arena for the games is just amazing. So we're hoping for a good wicket. We want the weather to stay away.
While just next door, players from around the world will lock horns in 2 different forms of the round ball code.
The 11-a-side is on number 2, and that's a great facility. And then outside on number 4 is our 5-a-side, and that's a very popular competition.
Add basketball, 10-pin bowling, athletics and bocce to the list. It's going to be a busy games.
And it's full on. I mean, it's it's enjoy, but there's a real enjoyment and fun and element to it. It's going to be amazing.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
Over the last 12 months, we've had a full review of this investigation from go to woe and revisited many of the witnesses that were identified early on. From that, as well as other members of the community and some forensic evidence, we've been able to progress the investigation.
The only place I could see a high-speed rail working in Australia would be in conjunction with a second airport at Williamtown and the commuter population out of Newcastle and the Central Coast. You've got to have a high level of people using it for it to work.
playfully crawling along or perched up high. For the koalas at the Oakvale Farm and Fauna Centre, life's pretty good. But next year, their safe haven is going to be even better. Owners Kent and Leanne Sansom are about to start building a new shelter, more than 5 times the size.
It'll have 7 koala displays so people will be able to see our breeding koalas in a natural environment.
The extra space will also give the park's breeding program room to grow. At the moment, the park has 7 koalas, including little Joey Kari, but that number is expected to increase to 20 once the new centre is built. The fact that the koala population is declining rapidly makes their work even more critical.
The koalas are also listed on the vulnerable species, and also with the local bushfires we've just had in the region, their numbers are getting critically low.
The centre's costing $250,000, with the federal government contributing almost half due to the tourism benefits. Visitation is expected to increase by 30%.
It will provide greater accessibility for people with disabilities to see, to interact, to understand our koala population. We've got great management here. We've had over 5 million visitors since the place opened, and more can be done.
Vivian von Drainen, NBN News.
Today, Singleton traffic gave way to some very special pedestrians as a Special Olympics torch run arrived in town. School children lined the streets, cheering on runners like Sean Sellers.
It's an amazing feeling. Some of the kids had Australian flags out there, and they got into it. The community got into it. It was such an amazing experience, something I'm never going to forget.
This morning, the event ran into Muswellbrook, the final leg escorted by the Law Enforcement Torch Run, a charity run by police officers.
They've had an opportunity to meet and work with and run with 3 very, very special people who, if not for things like Law Enforcement Torch Run, would have a very different life.
The event changing the lives of everyone involved.
It makes you so aware of how lucky you've been and so happy that they're getting their chance in life.
The run will head to Maitland and Warners Bay tomorrow, followed by its final leg into the opening ceremony at Hunter Stadium on Sunday. Christy Reading, NBN News.
After more than 2 decades together, this was it. David and Tanya, a broadcast couple like no other, ending their on-air relationship.
We've been doing this for 22 years together. I haven't even been married that long. Twice. I've squeezed 2 marriages in there.
And had room to spare.
What started on Newcastle's 2HD ended on KOFM. They've made us laugh and cry, a breakfast staple and morning companion.
There was this girl working at the radio station doing some producing, doing some on-air work that sounded really good. And I thought there weren't any boy-girls working on the radio together at that time. And I thought, let's give it a try.
And their loyal fans, who today turned up in their hundreds, made them #1 from the start.
I don't know what I'm going to do with a morning.
I've always loved listening to them all these years.
Not only did David and Tanya finish on top, in a tough business, they lasted longer than any other duo in Australia.
We get paid to do a job that we probably do for nothing. Shh, don't tell anyone that.
While both will carry on in different roles, it's fair to say Newcastle will never see a radio marriage as successful as this ever again. Nat Wallace, NBN News.
At 39 years of age, Sue Anthony was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. After suffering side effects from regular injections, the use of a new oral treatment was life-changing.
Well, I've had no serious relapses of MS. It allows me to put MS to the back of my mind. I don't let it rule what I can and can't do.
Before, it was quite likely that you end up in the wheelchair. Now the vast majority of my patients will remain in the workforce and will remain active in their life.
The Hunter Medical Research Institute has taken part in a crucial medical trial, showing the new oral treatment reduces the frequency and severity of relapses.
We have experience with the drug for over 5 years now, and it's very well tolerated by the patients that have continued the drug, and it's safe, and they have been very stable on it.
Now, for sufferers like Sue, it will not only be accessible but affordable. From Sunday, the drug will be listed on the government's pharmaceutical benefits scheme.
I think if it wasn't being reimbursed by the government, the expense would just be phenomenal.
These patients need to be on these drugs for decades. Yeah, so you can't really put that amount of money onto personal finances.
Emma Murphy, NBN News.
There was a couple of good reasons for the Jets to celebrate. 2 local juniors confirming they're staying for a while yet.
Missing so much football again, it's sort of given a bit back to the club, and I think they showed faith in me when I was injured, and I think just it's time to repay that.
Kantorowski has been making up for lost time this season, mirroring the form which once saw German giants Bayern Munich take note.
I think after we play a couple of games and get a season or 2 under the belt, we'll reassess things, and maybe we might even have another go at that.
While Jacob Pepper has also made his way to the top via the local state league. Known for his versatility within the side, his aim this season is to bed down a permanent position.
Me and Gary chatted at the start of the season, what's the best position for me, and he said, the right and left fullback, so I've worked on my game there.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
I guess a lot of hard work has gone into it, so it's just nice to be recognised, and obviously it's a big opportunity.
Demonstrates the depth of horse and trainer on off available, and it'll be a real boost for the area if he can win.
Armed with placards, those who rely on Newcastle's Stockton Centre want answers. In October, they found out the centre will be privatised as of 2018. But the families of those who live at the centre and staff haven't heard exactly what their futures hold.
Are the services going to be still on site? Are these clients going to be looked after by appropriately qualified people who know their injuries and illnesses and everything that goes with them? Those are the sorts of questions we have.
Stockton is the only centre of its kind left in the state. It provides 24-hour care tailored to the residents' needs. So far, the only alternative given for residents is group homes.
If you lose Stockton, there is no backup for those people. If they are in a community-based home and it doesn't work, where do they go? There's nowhere for them to go.
Those in the industry say what group homes offer is a far cry from what's available at Stockton.
They've got shops, they've got a rec hall, they've got a movie theatre, which is part of the recreational. They've got facilities on site for medical and everything like that. They've got a whole 357 clients have got a medical centre right on site.
Then the minister arrived.
Did you want to meet me up there and have a chat with me up there?
Would love to do
I don't
that.
think this is the place to chat.
Well, in this particular place, we'll give you this anyway. This is our questions that we want answered.
That's fine, we'll have a chat up there.
In a written statement, the minister said his department will consult with families and residents about future accommodation options. Vivian von Drainen, NBN News.
It's an issue that's driving through the heart of a community. Originally, the plan was to send the expected influx of residents in North Wallara's 800-lot Penny Beach development down the freeway to get to their homes. But development changes before council next week will mean Caves Beach Road could be used as an alternate access, and it's not going down well.
The majority of this traffic will pass past our 2 schools, our 3 preschools, and impact on everyone in Caves Beach.
Council received 136 objections and more than 1,300 people signed a petition opposing the change.
They've got to listen to the voice of the people. We've had very little feedback from the councillors, so I don't know which way they're thinking.
But there's no doubting where Chad Griffiths stands on the matter.
I will certainly be moving something different to the recommendation of council staff, and that would be that the Spoon Rocks Road is not open to any through traffic.
Some residents believe the issue shouldn't have got to this point.
Council staff are running their own agenda.
Council staff are bound by a whole heap of policies and legislation to look at the best available option, and that's what they've put forward.
What would this do to Caves Beach if it went ahead?
This will destroy Caves Beach.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
Please enjoy yourselves. Are you having a good time?
It's a club rich in history, tradition and community values, and there's plenty who can't keep away.
It's like a second home. It gave a lot to me when I was a young kid competing, and second family, and I want to give back to the club.
Tomorrow, members both past and present will celebrate 85 years of patrolling the Sandy Strip.
Generations of club members that have been here, so people that have been since the start in 1927, their grandkids and great-grandkids are still club members.
Swansea Belmont has produced numerous champions over the years, and helping others is just part of the deal. Concentrating on junior numbers has been their mantra.
It's been very strong competitive-wise, still lead the branch in all the carnival competition, and it's a great thing for young kids to compete in surf lifesaving.
But for 81-year-old clubby Bob Gregory, his most vivid memory was at a different scene.
1955 floods at Maitland. 4 other chaps and myself took the boat up and was there for 4 days, and I think we dragged over 100 people out of trees, houses and whatnot. That's my proudest moment anyhow.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
Newcastle is getting ready for the start of what could become an annual event, our very first amateur gift. And this is the man considered the front-runner for the title.
Very passionate about running, and I've always wanted a gift to be run either here in Maitland or Newcastle itself.
Tim Eschibach has quickly become a household name on the track, and not just for his speed.
Itchy back, ice back, yeah, Eschibach. Easiest way to say it.
This year, the 25-year-old found himself on the start line for the semis of the Melbourne Cup on 2 legs, the stall gift for the 3rd time running.
Right, anything can happen in the stall gift final.
But the 1 in 6 chance at the Holy Grail didn't go to plan for the part-time lifeguard.
Very, very, very nervous times. An amazing race, and I was very, very, very glad to be on that start line and just be amongst those guys and racing down the track.
With 8 weeks until the Newcastle gift, Team Eschibach is now racing the clock to be fit after returning from an overseas trip.
He's about as lazy as me. We push each other. Yeah, we trained together for a lot of years.
And you couldn't keep up?
No, I couldn't keep up.
Well, I may have fed him a few too many croissants in Paris, so yeah, I can take the blame a little.
But even combined with a tough handicap, the competition is certain to be stretched.
Every race comes down to centimetres, and it's always the best man on the day that comes across the line in front. So hopefully that's me.
Well, it was unexpected really, so yeah, it was a bit of a bonus to come out there and win it.
It's a challenge that has tested Samuel Johnson physically, mentally and emotionally, but he wouldn't have it any other way.
I'm just kind of sad that it's wrapping up, really.
The year-long event is called Love Your Sister, and it's all in the name of Sam's sister Connie, who has terminal breast cancer.
And my sister is a young mum with 2 kids, and she's dying of breast cancer, and she wanted me to get out there and try and remind every young mum in the land to be breast aware.
With 80 days left of the adventure, so far they've raised $1 million. Sam also completing dares along the way to raise extra money. And today was no different. The cost of every tattoo done at local store Diabolic in Newcastle was donated to the cause. But Sam wasn't just a spectator, he had Connie's initials tattooed on his back.
I think it's only right, being that this whole event is all about my sister, that I get my sister's initials. So I'm going to get them on my back because she's got my back always.
Store owner Mel Fox has a family history of breast cancer and didn't hesitate to jump on board.
We thought about it for not very long and then we decided, we get on board.
There was also time to greet local supporters and answer some uncomfortable questions.
These are really, really uncomfortable contraptions, and they do place a lot of pressure on the buttock, and it's only right that it gets asked about so often.
Vivian von Drainen, NBN News.
I think it should be great on the build up to Christmas. I mean, there's a lot happening in the city centre. There's a lot of over 300 shops in the CBD, and we're really hoping that the people will come in and utilise the city centre area.
If you've ever wondered what 1,000 people dressed up as Santa would look like, well, this is it. This year, a record number of Novocastrians dressed up as the man in the big red suit to raise money for variety.
The money will end up for special needs children in the Hunter, which there are a lot of, and our needs far exceed our capability to fundraise. So today certainly goes a long way to bridge that gap.
Serious runners ditched the suit, while some caught a ride, and those who couldn't run offered moral support. And happening alongside them was the 35th Santa Toy Run. 6,000 bikes made their way to the foreshore carrying toys for the Salvation Army. Another event attracting plenty of onlookers. As the bikers made their way in, it didn't take long for the toy pile to grow.
The Salvation Army takes cash donations and give you a cash receipt for it, and the toys go to the Salvation Army, which they have in a warehouse where people get distributed to the children.
The community say the best part is giving to those in need.
The kids bringing the gifts in and knowing that that there's some kids out there going to get some presents.
I think it's a very tight Christmas for a lot of people, and it's good to see them turn out here and give it to where it helps.
Vivian von Drainen, NBN News. Thanks, Jane. I'm joined here tonight by Games Director Chris Heverin. Chris, what are the Games all about?
Well, the Games are about a wonderful celebration of Special Olympics athletes, with athletes with intellectual disability. We've got 30 nations, 2,500 athletes, and they're all here to have a fantastic time in Newcastle for this week.
Okay. And what's happening here tonight?
Well, tonight's our fabulous opening ceremony. It's going to be a spectacular. We'd say to everybody, please come on down. We've still got time. There are tickets available. It's going to be amazing. The artists, the athletes, what a night.
Great, thanks Chris. And you can watch the opening ceremony on Gem from 8:40. Jane, back to you.
He's been the Jets' go-to man and certainly didn't go unnoticed by Sydney. Adam Taggart, fresh off a hat-trick and a new contract, couldn't find what's become that trademark finishing touch for a team chasing a club record 4th straight win.
He'd like to have a couple back tonight, I'm sure, but yeah, I think, he's had a big week, and there's obviously more expectation on someone like Adam at the moment.
This week he'd play behind Emile Heskey, a formation change that produced plenty of chances. The frustration, though, could lead to more changes next week.
It's definitely work in progress, that type of combination as well. So, we'll have a look at that and decide what we do with Melbourne.
Even with a hamstring strain getting the better of Del Piero, Sydney FC looked elsewhere and found their mark late in the first half. As the Sky Blues raced to their 10th win in 12 games at home, the Jets were left to rue missed opportunities. The loss leaves them in 4th place, while Sydney moved into equal second.
The flip side is that we had enough chances to win the game as well.
And it's all charitable money. It's all money that's been donated by the local members, local community, and every time there's a break-in, it costs a lot to replace.
The community won't see any difference. They'll see bigger and faster helicopters. And what we can say with great certainty is that, when we started in Tamworth, that we can guarantee by divisional accounting that any money raised in the respective areas will stay there.
Shortland Waters Golf Club is hoping to strike it lucky. Struggling financially after buying the course from BHP in 1999, it's found a developer willing to buy some of its land.
It's critical for the club's future. The club won't survive.
The move has the support of its 800 members.
Well, I've been a member here for 30 years and I don't want to see the club fail.
The development aspect, I think it's got to go through for the good of the region and the good of the golfers of Newcastle.
Wollongong-based Chamber Developments has plans for a $66 million seniors housing estate, 189 villas, 56 apartments and a 127-bed aged care facility.
You could wake up and have a game of 18?
Oh, it would be lovely.
But some claim the plan has a few holes.
Well, the land that it's proposed for adjoins the wetlands.
The development would take in 3 holes of the current golf course, with Shortland Waters buying environmentally sensitive land off Newcastle Council to relocate them.
Which was formerly a dump. Now, the remediation process of that dump is actually the golf course that will go on top of it.
But a report by Newcastle Council recommends the project be refused because it's not satisfied the contamination would be contained.
They need to understand how contaminated it is and what remediation needs to be done to make it acceptable.
The club believes its studies are on par with what's required. The decision now rests with the Joint Regional Planning Panel.
We desperately need a positive determination next Wednesday.
Nat Wallace, NBN News.
They're pumped to perform and came ready to party. There was a rapturous welcome for the host team, with nearly 400 athletes, the largest contingent of the Games. This was their night. Months, years of preparation leading up to this moment. The Queen of Pop and a proud Hunter local, Marsha Hines, got crowd members moving. While the McClymans kept them on their feet. This was history in the making, the very first Special Olympics Asia Pacific Games, and a chance to showcase what the Hunter has to offer. There was a celebration of the region's beach culture. And a nod to multicultural roots. Virtual armies of local dancers, singers and other performers providing a backdrop for big-name entertainers. Gravity-defying wheelchair acrobat Paul Naneri took everyone's breath away. Back on the ground, Ambassador Mel Eustace gave an insight into the athlete's world.
Well, sometimes life can be tough, but thanks to Special Olympics, we love life, we love sport, we love being successful.
And the Governor-General declared the Games open.
So athletes, bring it on!
The lighting of the cauldron is one of the most highly anticipated features of any Games, and this one was unique. Special Olympics dancers carrying petals for the 30 competing nations, representing teamwork, respect and acceptance. Australian athlete Jeffrey Kirby did the honours. The night ended in an explosion of fireworks, with much more colour to come in the sporting arena in the days ahead.
Sport at its absolute purest. Athletes from 30 countries doing themselves and their nations proud. On the cricket pitch, Bangladesh were looking to get on the front foot against the tournament favourites. But the task was never going to be easy against India, a side that had more than 1,000 trialists to choose from.
In this team, they are from all over India. Boys from south, from north, from east, from west. Then make one team to unite them. Then we have camps together.
In football, the Philippines were showing all their silky skills. The World Game has taken a hold in Asia and these players were living the Olympic dream, but it was Thailand who held on for a 1-0 win. It was standing room only at the Forum for the swimming. Ninjan Yulan was in the zone for her 25-metre breaststroke heat, the 18-year-old from Mongolia qualifying for the next round of competition tomorrow. While at Broadmeadow, there were two nations not usually known for treading the boards. Indonesia's Raul Demijan showed his prowess as his side cruised to victory over India. while the green and gold women's side also shook away early nerves to post an impressive 9-point win in its match against an Indian outfit. The Australian captain couldn't be more proud.
First time playing for Australia, and I was so nervous but really excited at the same time. I couldn't wait to go on the court with all my mates, and to play for Australia is my dream.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
They've got a few years before they can contest the Special Olympics, but it's never too early to start playing sport. Today, intellectually disabled students from Newcastle got the chance to learn skills that could one day see them competing for their country. It's part of a new program run by Special Olympics Australia.
It's targeted at children who are aged from birth to 7 years old, and it's about introducing them to what we call multi-skills. So it's using the skills of sport in a really fun way.
It's designed to develop fine motor and social skills and push the boundaries.
It gives them a sense of belonging. It's a purpose. They want to achieve exactly the same as everybody else, and they have the ability to do that.
The program will be rolled out across the country next year, reaching more than 400 students, a number the organisation's hoping to build on. Volunteers will implement the program in schools. It will be partly funded through the $1.1 million the state government has contributed to the Special Olympics.
It's the fact that we can really see in evidence our young people, our future of the community, learning how to work with one another, being given the opportunity to succeed and build their confidence.
Vivian von Drainen, NBN News.
Even though you have all these different countries, everyone coming together as one, to be able to celebrate our differences and to share our differences and to take joy in them. And so that feeling is what we really want to create around the world.
Joseph's raw talent came to the fore on tour with the Australian youth team. An 8-match campaign against the best Chinese provincial sides proved he could match futsal skills with the best of them.
I played very well, played majority of the game strong, and I thought my skill was good.
The 17-year-old captained the side, which lost only once.
A majority of games we dominated. Sometimes in games we didn't take our chances, and that proved in some scorelines.
His rise through the futsal ranks has only taken 12 months. A local tournament brought the youngster to the attention of national youth coach Emmanuel Sharapis.
He brought me in, played my first year of futsal, and I ended up making the Australian team last year. And from then on, I just loved it. It's been one of the main things in my life.
His aim now is to make the squad for next year's Youth World Cup in Spain, all the while looking to go further in both forms of the round ball game.
From futsal skills, you can bring that to the outdoor game. From some of the outdoor game skills, you can bring into futsal. So they live off each other, so it's good for me. I benefit from both.
Grujevski will start in Broadmeadows lower grades next season, but he's hoping his green and gold campaign will earn him an NBN League call-up.
I've been in 19s this year, last year, so I started just breaking through. Next year I think I'll stay with the 19s, but I'd love to go up 22s, maybe get a bit of first-team action, see what happens.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
Invalid pensioner Dennis Griffin was found bashed and stabbed in the bedroom of his Waratah unit in October 2011. Michael Peter Kane has pleaded not guilty to his murder. Today in Newcastle Supreme Court, forensic psychiatrist Bruce Westmore appeared via video link, answering questions over an interview he conducted with the accused last August. Kane told Dr Westmore that he went to confront Mr Griffin about an issue and that apparently he was a pedophile. When Dr Westmore asked what the issue was, Kane replied Mr Griffin had been making obscure phone calls to a female friend. Kane went on to say that Mr Griffin tried to touch him and that he lashed out, telling him to stay away, and that he tried to hit me, so I defended myself and hit him back on a number of occasions. Kane alleged Mr Griffin had a pornographic DVD and he was watching that as well. It looked like it contained images of children. Dr Westmore told the court he believed Kane had an extreme negative view of pedophilia and that the accused had said he was sexually abused by a priest in high school. Earlier today, Detective Sergeant Reynold Urquhart told the court a small collection of DVDs and VHSs were taken from the deceased unit, but no child abuse material was found. The trial continues. Christy Reading, NBN News.
Researchers at the Hunter Medical Research Institute think they've found a drug that could combat Australia's second biggest killer. It's called tenecteplase, a clot-dissolving shot that works faster than anything else on offer.
It starts working immediately, so we get the artery open much earlier. We're seeing less people left with a serious disability and more people making a good recovery.
Sylvia Steele is one of 100 people treated as part of initial trials in the Hunter. Within an hour of suffering a stroke, she was given a CT scan and tenecteplase. She went from being paralysed on one side of her body to walking and talking within 24 hours.
They ask you, your name about every hour or so, and I remember saying, oh, I can speak, So that was my first reality of what had really happened to me.
Husband Philip was there to see the recovery process.
I explained to many of our friends that we actually won the lottery. There was no question of that. And she walked out of here in less than 5 days.
More than 1,000 patients will be treated as part of the trial that will run around the world over the next 4 years. It's hoped 200 of those will be here in Newcastle.
It's culminating in a large trial that we hope will change clinical practice, and it will be the first new treatment for stroke for the 15 years.
Vivian von Drainen, NBN News.
Without the volunteers, Newcastle Meals on Wheels wouldn't exist. They're the lifeblood of our service, and it's we're here to celebrate that.
It's already a work in progress. By next July, the Catholic Diocese of Maitland Newcastle will be able to offer 2 brand new disability group homes and 22 affordable housing units in Mayfield, providing supported accommodation for more than 30 people.
We see it's a good opportunity to use land owned by the diocese in a tangible way to assist people in the community.
The $7 million project will become one of 3 group homes owned by the diocese in the region.
But we've got plans for further development, particularly in Lake Macquarie.
Meanwhile, Life Without Barriers also made the most of the International Day. Newcastle's Peter Slaughter, one of 15 people across the country recognised at the group's awards ceremony. He took out the breakthrough category for overcoming personal challenges.
What I nominated him for is we took him on a cruise, and Pete doesn't manage well in crowds, and
he got on the cruise and we went overseas and we had a great time.
Peter's story, one of several shared at today's event.
We really try to pick people who particularly have gone above and beyond in their personal life and overcome some challenges, and that can be role models for people with a disability.
Vivian von Drainen, NBN News.
Although willing, Gary van Egmond wasn't allowed to talk about his future. But others claim it's no laughing matter. The drama again being played out, even though the Jets are fifth on the ladder.
Well, I'm not Gary, so it doesn't bother me. To be honest, it's not my problem.
In a radio interview, high-profile players agent Tony Rallis claimed former Socceroo and Toronto junior Darren Stewart was asked to coach the Jets. He says he was sounded out 4 weeks ago before Newcastle started its winning streak, an approach the Jets say never happened, but what effect it's having on the players remains to be seen.
Who your coach is, a lot of time in football, is not your problem as a player. As a player, you're very self-focused and self-motivated.
And they'll need to be ahead of this weekend's game with the Melbourne Victory, who beat us 5-0 last year.
This is a team, if you're not 100%, they will punish you.
And after spending a forced week on the sidelines and returning last week, don't expect Q Yulins to tame his passion.
Was it just a case of frustration?
No, I'm used to playing like this, and I'm used to having arguments with the ref.
The defender also revealing today he's in talks to remain at the club beyond the season.
Yeah, no, for me it's positive.
Nat Wallace, NBN News.
Now that our club's advanced and progressed and become a lot stronger football club, we think we're ready to go back into that competition and really make a good show of it, we hope.
You have to travel to Tasmania to see devils in their natural habitat, but a new centre at Devil Ark in the Barrington Tops is bringing them and their plight closer to home.
This new building, this new education/tourism/ promotional centre will allow us to spread the word even further.
The centre even offers interactions with joeys and could prove a draw card for the region.
When we look at all the diversity of natural attractions in the Upper Hunter and other attractions, this is a great facility and such an important facility for the preservation of the Tasmanian devils.
It was completed earlier this year with state government funds, money that may end up being an investment in the devils' future.
It's looking pretty dire at the moment. We've lost over 90% of the wild population. It's looking more and more like these animals will become extinct in the wild, leaving a facility like Devil Ark to do so much important work to rebuilding that wild population.
It's hoped the new centre will attract more support and funding for the project, which aims to reintroduce the devils into Tasmania in 10 to 15 years.
I'm sure the project itself will continue to gather momentum, there's no doubt about that.
Georgina Smythe, NBN News.
Right now, this man is centre stage. Jim Doyle, made boss of the NRL's Integrity Unit in April, has found himself dealing with a crisis long before the 2014 season even begins.
Any incident that sort of tarnishes a brand is disappointing.
In the past week, 3 big names have been charged with allegations involving alcohol and violence.
I'm not a violent person and I would never hurt my wife or kids.
How do you deal with those problems?
I mean, today is really about, obviously, the Indigenous Festival, and not about the way that we deal with the various things from an integrity perspective. We're working on those and we still to work on them, so I don't really want to talk more about them. We have put the Integrity Unit in place. That's something we're looking at. It doesn't change overnight, but we've just got to keep working on it.
I want to stay on the Indigenous stuff here today. We can talk about all those things another day.
Wayne Bennett wouldn't be drawn on Newcastle's own off-field drama.
Look, you didn't obviously got plugs in your ears, you didn't hear what I said.
Former Warrior turned Knight Russell Packer was stood down by the club after being charged over an incident in Sydney that left a man with a fractured eye socket. The line of questioning came as the NRL launched the Festival of Indigenous Rugby League, a week of footy in Newcastle from February 3rd, where Bennett's men will play a Laurie Daly-coached non-elite Indigenous team filled with up-and-coming stars.
To have it up here in Newcastle is very special.
The event replaces the All-Stars concept, which has been rested because of the World Cup.
The trouble when the Aboriginal boys all play each other, they get into each other. So I wanted to protect a couple of mine because they play pretty tough against each other. I've been a couple of their carnivals and they scare me.
Nat Wallace, NBN News.